Hello and good day to you. Today I have a topic to talk about concerning sexuality with teens and how teens kind of start sexuality. Sometimes as parents we are surprised when our teens stumble upon sexuality and the stimulation of sexuality we just were not expecting. This time period to happen and occur at this particular time, nor are we expecting for someone else outside of our families to teach our young, about sexuality and how to demonstrate sexuality. So preparing yourself as a parent, as an adult in a child's life to say, I want to scold you. And I want to sit angry with you because I don't think you fully understand mentally and emotionally, spiritually, how much damage sexuality can do to the mind, the emotions, and your self-esteem over time if you're not ready to partake in sexuality. First of all, a lot of parents don't tell their teens that sex feels good sometimes. Normally, teens start off with masturbating. And, a lot of times they won't even realize that this happens at a time when they're very stressed out in life. They're experiencing social awkwardness in life. So this is the perfect opportunity for Satan to teach them about masturbating and sexuality. And if you really talk to your young and they're open and honest and comfortable with talking to you, they will tell you that they kept masturbating and trying to masturbate until, it felt so good that they orgasmed. They didn't even know the terminology and a name for it, yet the action happened. And for instance, not to put my son out there, but my son had, he shared with me when he started masturbating. It was a surprise to me. Yet when he started masturbating, he told me he didn't know that masturbating could hurt his penis because he had no lubrication while he was masturbating. No one had told him about lubrication, and so he kept trying to get this good feeling, and had hurt his penis in the process. Anyway, as parents, we really, it's this because of the schedules we have sometimes, because of the stigmas we have from different time periods in life. Perhaps our parents thought that sexuality was a taboo subject and something that they might not talk about directly themselves, with their teens. And a lot of times, the school officials developed sex education classes they perform in school. However, with sexual education, it still suggests that, they'll only talk about certain points of sexuality and not per se what the parents' expectations are for their young concerning sexuality. Number one, how do you determine that you're ready for sexuality in the first place? Is it just because you want to feel that good feeling? You're having a stressed out day and you've learned to masturbate and relieve your stress. Because sometimes sexuality and masturbation is a stress releaser. How to choose your partner and selecting a partner to have sex with. Some people choose a partner who is similar to their mother or their father. If you didn't have your mother and your father in your life, you perhaps don't have that information to draw from. Some parents hide their sexuality and their sensuality from their young. So their young may have no idea in their minds what's acceptable within their own family in regards to sexuality. A teen might not ask themselves why they're masturbating and why they're having sex. What stimulated this having sex? Scientists would say hormones stimulate the need for sexuality at a certain age. Yet some people understand that sexuality is manipulated earlier and some young than others. How do people disrespect a person who has allowed them to have sex with them easily. Because a teen may not understand what the rules of sensuality and sexuality are. And I need to protect myself from somebody who wants to use me for sexuality. Because they figure I don't know anything about sexuality. Perhaps my parents work all day long. You know, perhaps I have one parent household. Understanding that, you know, they have the right to say, no, this is my temple. This is my autonomy, my body. And I set the rules and the standards for my body. People can talk about another person and make life miserable when they don't respect the person. Because they don't want to take responsibility for their immaturity. When the truth of the matter is that you should never, ever, ever lay down and have sex with a person that you do not respect and who does not respect you. So therefore, if that happens to you, you must, out of maturity, take responsibility, at least half responsibility for the action happened. Now, in the older days, people were able to keep their personal lives and pertaining to sexuality quiet, because it was not gentlemanlike or ladylike to talk about the details of how a person conducted having sex with other people. We should assume that every person wants something from us. That includes sex, right at the top of the list. If these people speak nicely, they sound nicely, these people will spend money and time on you, they teach you stuff your parents never taught you, just still doesn't mean that they don't want something from you, including sexuality. So ask those questions of them. Ask those questions of them to understand what their motive is, what their intentions are in your life. That at least gives them the opportunity to tell the truth about why they're in your life. You've at least extended a fair opportunity for them to tell you why they're in your life. Assume people who are fakes will not help you to grow into your maturity or your intellect. If you discover you meet someone who continues on inviting themselves into your life, and you check your life every 6 months, every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, 5 years, and your progress just is not there, assume these people mean to do you harm, and as subtle as it seems. Assume having too many sexual partners is trifling. Assume people are talking about you and watching you even if they leave you in isolation, meaning they don't contact you on a regular. They don't stop past your house respectfully and visit with you in person. They eavesdrop on you. So they probably would not stay honest with you and tell you actually what they think about you as a person. If you're finding that people aren't vouching for your relationships, they are subliminally and subconsciously destroying your right to have a healthy relationship. So understand what's important for you in a relationship. Having sex might not stand as the greatest point in your life and in your relationship. Find out what qualities you possess and what qualities you want in your mate. Having sex within your own family should never happen. The fact that this is a subject that's very humiliating and it's dangerous to talk about sometimes, says that we are leaving masses of people who are subjected to, it's called incest, within the same family. A lot of our scholars say that this incest started with slavery and during slavery time. So it actually happens, yet, you know, as grown adults, it's a taboo subject that we really don't talk about, and it's called saving face or saving someone's emotions And therefore, sometimes we allow our young to get subjected to this happening to them, because we have great intentions for our young, yet we had never taken the space and time to talk to them in all seriousness about this. Having sex with people in the person's family you're dating should never happen. And expressing to the person you're dating that that's not your cup of tea. That's not what you're into. If they don't respect that about you, and instead, they wait until something like that happens and then try to chastise you afterwards, that might stand grounds as dissolving the relationship. Because after all, you have to worry about your image, your self-image, and your self-respect as a person, even after, that relationship is over. If you have sex, how would you protect yourself from pregnancy and disease? Should you assume that the person, has kept up their doctor's appointments? Should you assume that because they're well-spoken and dressed nicely, because they have a full-time job and a nice car, that they don't have some type of disease, or they don't care about getting you pregnant and then not helping you to raise your children? Assume that every person has a disease at one point or the other. Insist on having a pap smear done, a wellness check for your partner prior to having sex together. That way you understand together at the same time, and you can grow your love and your respect and your honor for each other, irregardless to what somebody else has to say outside of your relationship. It also helps to stimulate maturity within your life and your relationship. Some people say females do not understand what a penis feels like. So how can they understand what size of a penis is correct for them? Now, people who have a certain amount of intellect and maturity understand that a woman's vagina, her womb, is a muscle. So if she's taught to flex her muscle and exercise her muscle, the muscle will reform its shape. A female doesn't necessarily need the largest penis in the world, to sit satisfied with a man. So a man should understand that if his penis is not as large as he would want his penis to stand, that's not particularly a deal smasher when it comes to some females, because some females, are properly designed for a man with a smaller penis. It's just a topic that you might want to have with your partner prior to having sex, so that you two can make a mature decision prior to having sex with each other, and you figure you're not for each other. If your parents are shunned from speaking to you about sex, yet they try to chastise you about sex, it's probably because that's how they were raised and that's how they were treated when they were growing up. So you have to understand your worth and your right to make your own choices and decisions in life. That means you have to educate and inform yourself about what is proper and correct for you. If you know that you're chasing your goals in life, and that's school, work, or what have you, then you know that sex might interfere with that. So keep in mind, selecting a partner that's sensitive enough and respectful enough about your goals in life. And don't just assume that they think that about you and they give you that credit. Have that conversation with each other. Sometimes the subtle flirtations. Some mothers will encourage their sons to flirt with certain females because the mother sees some type of quality in these females, and she would prefer for her son to learn how to interact with females. This might not stand dangerous. It's just that you might want to tell the parties involved, the female as well, that, they are female of interest, so that they understand how to carry themselves as a respectful female and say, I'm not ready to date yet, or I'm flattered, yet I'm already in a relationship with someone else. Because just not to have a conversation at all leaves a gray area, and it leaves, room for error and failure, instead of just having a conversation with each other. So, understanding why dating someone who is too old or experienced for you can sometimes save you trouble and hardship. But sometimes those older people have a lot of experience that they aren't willing to share with a younger person. So, that in itself is dangerous, because they already understand that they have experience and knowledge. And if they weren't willing to educate the younger person they're dating in the first place, what was really the purpose and the reason for them to date someone younger than themselves, other than to exploit the younger person in the first place? And quite frankly, why get with somebody that you're going to damage worse than when you met the person in the first place? Knowing that, life is about learning and growing and experiencing. And if you've damaged the person early on in life, how can they stand available and ready for someone who's really ready to experience and show them what love really is? Realize that they are people who claim to want love and they don't. There are people who have no clue what love is and will seek to destroy love within you. They will say whatever it is they need to say to get close to you enough to understand what your idea of love is, fully having no intentions on giving you any type of love at all. So understand, just because a person lays down with you, they show that they are attracted to you physically, doesn't mean that they are in love with you, doesn't mean that they love you as a person, and doesn't mean they love themselves or have respect for themselves. So keep that in mind. And it is not that you are presenting yourself as a mean person when you set standards in your life that say, I'm not willing to settle for somebody who doesn't truly understand what my worth is and my goals are as a person in life. A lot of times, parents will not show their young what their idea of love is. So, when a parent jokes with their partner, it's sometimes a coded conversation, because they're used to having that coded conversation when they're young. It's almost talking over top of their head. So they might, communicate with each other in a way that doesn't disturb the innocence of their young. At some point, the parents should upgrade and update their young and allow them to understand that there's a deeper connection when it comes to people. You're not just living in the same household going through the motions in life. There's actually a experience of love that involves feelings and connections and spirituality, spirit. And just to say this doesn't actually, help a person to understand that this is something that they might experience. Some people have never experienced it. Yet to understand that is available helps a person to continue to keep their standards as a person, instead of giving in to someone who meant them really no good in the first place. So, ensuring yourself that, it's not just that as a parent and adult you want to stay out of trouble, you don't want something to happen that might get you in trouble or your child. It's to say that talking about sex doesn't automatically give your child or your young permission to have sex. What it does is let them know that you are acknowledging as a grown adult that they are growing up, that they will experience life in a different manner than they experienced when they were younger. And actually allowing them to understand that you acknowledge that they are growing up helps them psychologically and emotionally and spiritually to give themselves permission to grow up in your, in your presence. So a lot of times, parents are too harsh on their children and make their children think that the parent had made no mistakes in life because they haven't shared their personal stories with their children. So therefore, the children start to hide and their communication from their parent, and they aren't open and honest with their parents. And the parent can start feeling resentment and, deny their children and start a vicious cycle when, it was really up to the parent in the first place to initiate conversation. I hope this helps, someone along the way. And I just had this on my heart and my soul to speak this today. So please share this video. If you, if you watch this video, like this video or comment this video. Have a great day.